Hello everyone, this is Mr. Nightmare here, and I'm sorry I haven't been updating the Puppeteer love story. The chapters are very long for me to record a certain amount of time because of the noises in the background. You guys can certainly hear them from my other previous videos. But right now I have the time to continue reading the Puppeteer's love story chapter 2. Before I get started, I would like you guys to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe to this channel if you guys want more creepypasta fanfictions out there. Anyway, let's get started. I sprawled around in my chair constantly. We're just watching the performance through the cameras in the security room. The only other thing that would be doing nothing. There's nothing else to do. I figured my uncle would at least let us to have some donuts or at the courtesy since we're employees. Not just employees, but family. However, no discount, no special treatments or offers. I was lucky enough to get the job. It was very early, easy to get distracted. I was often naive too. I thought I was happy at a reward which experiencing hearing also improves that I notice every slightest sound. So my weakness often prevents me from getting good jobs or doing well in school. I've always had someone already knew that. Though I was smart and skilled at many things, distraction was one of my best of me. Huffed as she rested her head in her palms tiredly, watching the cameras. Instead, a strand of her black hair rested in front of her face, mocking her. I shifted my chair, trying to pay attention to the performance. The small desk fan on the left then blew soft air as it swirled left and right. I heard it internally twitching turn. I tried my hardest to focus. Yes, even something as small and unimportant as the desk fan could catch my attention. It made me itch to watch. It was so quite unfortunate. With a quick glance at the fan, I groaned, scolding myself mentally. I know, pretty boring, huh? And sighed, thinking I was talking about the performance. I quickly averted my gaze back to the camera, shooting my eyes. Kinda the same thing every day. Uncle taught me something new. And absently nodded, keeping her gaze fixed on the performance. Another sigh escaped my lips or mouth as I looked at my watch. 5 more minutes until closing time. Thank the Lord, I sighed in relief. One which and gladly returned. How long? 5. She smiled, stretching her plump limbs. I yawned, stretching my arms outwards. A slight grin appeared on my face when the tension of my muscles relaxed. I clenched my shoulders, popping. It was like music to my ears, even though everything was. Anne Sly giggled, seeing my pleased expression. I looked at her, unable to stop myself as she trunked and tucked the strand of black hair behind her ear. I might as well get started locking up, just to get it done early, she said, standing up. I stood with her and pulled out my tongue of my shoes, stretching them in the position. Anne handed me a pair of keys as she clenched her own, along with the flashlight. I stood a smile as she headed towards the door. I eagerly followed behind, itching to get out of this boring building. She pulled the door open, peering out into the empty hall. Since the security room was in the back of the building, No one was ever around. However, it was still safe to check. There's only an outline of the hallway and the other being a dead end. Okay, let's go, she said as I pulled the door, quickly shutting it, quickly locking it, and dashed down the dark hall, leaving me to sprint after her. The flashlight barely illuminating the path, only going as far as 2 feet ahead of me. At this rate, I couldn't be able to stop myself in time if something happened to cross my path. And swiftly opened the other door, revealing a damp, lit stage where the performance was moments ago. Trash covered the empty seats, making my stomach crawl. It begged me to see the theater in this condition. I quickly averted my eyes as Anne brushed up the velvet curtain, suddenly movements slightly stirring me, causing my feet to react on their own. Being alone was the one thing I hate the most. I could easily tell when I'm alone in a room, even with no sounds or lights. So when my parents left, it made my skin crawl and my stomach flipped. For several nights, I eager to cry myself to sleep or stay up watching my dark room. I'd rather be mortified in front of an entire crowd than be alone. Something about it made me act different, almost depressed. And unlocked the fuse box, swinging it open, revealing hundreds of switches and levers. Wires were tangled and mishcolored, leaving up my gut to choose which one. I guess it was the stage lights. However, Anne grew up in the theater, so she automatically knew which one was it. So, since it was her job to kill all the lights, shutting the building, I had to lock up all the doors, which only bothered me a little. Okay, Anne said as the darkness consumed the air around me. Take this, I'll meet you outside. Okay. She handed me the flashlight, not letting go of her tight grip until I received it. Okay, I muttered, my voice almost silent, and was aware of my added being uncomfortable about my parents leaving, but I never told her about being alone. I figured that she shouldn't always have to be by my side, making me feel like a wandering, clueless child. Grabbing the flashlight in my hand, I watched as she quickly sprinted out of the building, closing the door with a loud crash. A shaky sigh escaped my lips as I made my way deeper backstage, heading for the south door. Since it was lit into a black alleyway, it made me sigh uncomfortably, knowing that someone could just sneak in at any time or given moment. Though my uncle did have security back there, but going back there alone in the dark, which with a dim flashlight to defend myself, which made my regrets every time that Anne left me to do my job. Speaking from loud floor doors behind me, nearly making me jump out of my skin. It was too quiet for Anne to possibly hear, but my expressionless hearing was no way I could have missed it. I whipped the flashlight around, searching for the source. The floor was always did that when I headed towards the back door. I always felt like someone was there. The empty feeling I was assured that I had when I was alone dissolved, meaning my mind to paranoid. Could it have been Anne trying to prank me, or did she decide to come back? Since I wasn't brave enough to ask who's there, I slowly turned around, nearly running towards the door. The small window on it let in barely enough light to show me the lock. I skimmed through my keys in eager to lock it and continue my way. Due to all my hurriness at the moment, the keys slipped from my grasp, clinging against the wooden floorboards. Fuck, I whispered to my eyes, bending down, receiving them. However, I froze, feeling that presence again. Not only that, I could have sworn I heard a very light, almost unnoticeable chuckle. Come on, Kate, we're letting it get to you. Focus for once. My fingers looming along the keys as I tried either to pick them up or not. My mind was screaming at me to run. Which way as I yelled at me to finish my given job. Finally picking up the keys, I shoved them into the locks, twisting it until finally I heard the click. I quickly yanked the keys from the keyhole, nearly running towards the curtains that held the stage, or hid the stage. As I reached towards the curtains and yanked them open, my flashlight flew out of my hands, rolling underneath the curtains and onto the stage behind them. I mentally cursed, feeling pathetic. The one thing I hated more than being alone is being alone in the dark. My keys dangled from my hands, threatening to fall as well. I quickly yanked the curtains open, searching for my flashlight. Darkness around me made me ease to see the flashlight. I stumbled towards it, praying that it wouldn't burn out. The stage was at least 5 feet from the ground. It would have been painful to fall if I had forced to continue without a flashlight. Just as I desperately hoped it wouldn't happen, the light shut off, leaving me alone in the dark. However, I still had that feeling that I wasn't alone. That who else would be here? No one else was here at this hour besides Anne. Darkness engulfed me, making me tremble, forcing me to move. I slid my feet curiously or carefully across the stage. Finding the edge, I felt a cold breeze making chills go up my spine. The only windows in the entire building were in this room, but they were near the ceiling, and the stained glass also, they did not open. I guess none of the doors were open, so it confused me even more. My foot slid along the edge, making me trip. However, I quickly caught myself from falling and injuring myself. A heavy pant escaped my lips, fighting against the eager silence that was piercing my ears. I quickly sat down, dragging my feet off the edges. Taking a deep, shaky breath, I jumped off, landing roughly on my feet. I fell on my butt. Slightly wincing, my ankle felt like it's been serving from rough impact against the floor. However, I quickly recovered, wanting to get back to my cousin, however, who was waiting for me. Damn it, I growled, lifting myself to my feet. The pain seemed to wear away as I continued running down the aisles towards the front door. Another click or clunk from behind me made me run even harder and faster. I itched to look curiously at being on my strange threads. Instead of looking back, I banged through the front door, staring at Anne, who sat on the bench a few feet away. She quickly stood up as I looked the door, not daring to look back into the dark theater. Kate, what's wrong? I placed a hand on my shoulder. I shakily handed her the keys. Nothing, I just lost the flashlight, I said, trying to sound reassuring. She felt my action and smiled. It's okay, I need a new one anyway. I nodded, beginning to walk down the sidewalk with her at my side. The wind blew against my face, seeming to calm me. My footsteps were quiet, completely compared to her loud ones, almost like if I was tiptoeing. Hey, and my cousin looked at me, hinting me to continue. I cleared my throat in order to cover my shaky breath. Do you ever feel like, I don't know, like you're being watched? A question came out the way I had expected to. It was supposed to sound more casual than it did. What do you mean, like stalked? She raised an eyebrow, smiling. I nod, trying to sound normal, but chuckling, I guess, and looked back in front of her, thinking she was innocent-minded of all of the time, though she was about a year and a half older than me. She was just mentally and childish as I could be. Not really, I mean, during class at school, but nothing like stalkish. Just like someone staring at me. I raised an eyebrow, smirking at her. Maybe like a cute guy. She giggled. Yeah, most of the time. However, her feeling of being watched is completely different than mine. I only thought of being watched when I locked up at night. It was enough to creep me out. If I told her, she'd probably just laugh, saying, you're just being paranoid, that your ears are driving you or deceiving you. But it wasn't that. I was in my paranoia of getting the best of me. No, it had to be something else. Just someone playing a prank on me, to say at least. But people wouldn't do something like that to me. Everyone at school treated me with respect, knowing that I always did to them, even my friends who wouldn't do something like that, knowing how uncomfortable and serious I get. And however, was whole world knew their story. She might have done something to scare me, but it was little chance of her being it. First of all, I never heard the door open. Even though she had opened it quietly, I would still have squeaked or heard it. Secondly, Anna isn't a quiet person unless she was bored. Her footsteps were loud, her voice even her actions. Anne was a very energetic person, silent being her worst enemy. Lastly, she would have done something. And sneaking in just to scare me by squeaking the floor. Highly unlikely. She would have jumped out and scared me, or at least tried to scare me with an emoji, yet totally fake voice. Plus, she would have freaked out if me caused the sense I did a few times. She would have definitely said something, whatever it was, a giggle or a scold. Why do you feel like you're being watched, Kate? She cooed, making me snap out of my trance. A piece of what? She said it for a moment, trying to decide what's the best thing to say. No, I'm just curious. A few minutes later, we approached our house. I walked up the stairs to the door, trying to calm as she prepared to leave me again, all alone. As she turned back to face me, I couldn't help but notice the TV beaming through the windows. Most likely my uncle, since it was sports game on. Since I silently watched as the baseball pitcher cocked his head and bit holding the ball firmly. When I was deep in thought about something, I could put bits and pieces together, figuring out the occurrence of the situation. He was carefully drawing his arms back before resting or preparing to throw the ball. As he launched the baseball into the camera switch into looking at the batter. The batter roughly landed in the midst of the umpire of his single strike. Though I wasn't much into baseball, the light coming from the gigantic television or device caught my attention easily. Kate! Anne waved her hand in front of me eagerly. I snapped out of my thoughts and my attention towards her, slightly confused. What? I asked innocently. She slightly smirked, trying not to freak out of my distraction getting the best of me. I said I'll see you tomorrow, okay? She looked deep into my eyes, wanting me to pay attention. I nodded before smiling. She smiled and walked into her house. I backed away, back down to the sidewalk, lost in thought. Something was bugging me, itching me to pay attention. I simply couldn't do that. As if someone was calling for me, my attention instantly snapped. At the end of the road, in the direction I normally go home to, completely darkness. The cold breeze getting to me. However, something wasn't right. I didn't hear anything, but I felt a strong presence. I tried to shake it off. I nearly slipped in the opposite direction, wanting to get home quickly as possible. Another chill went down my spine, making me begin to run. Things like this didn't usually happen, so I had to conclude that I was being paranoid. Getting to me again, my long legs kept moving, pumping blood and rushing through my body. No, it wasn't normal for me to run home, but I felt like it was needed. For what reason, I was still unsure. All I know was that I had to get home. I need some sleep. Tried to shake off this creepy night. As I approached my house, I quickly ran up the stairs, trying not to fall from going too fast. My legs sprint up the door, grabbing the bronze handle tightly just as I was about to twist it open. A quiet sound made me freeze in my tracks, nearly scaring me to death. A chuckle. A dark chuckle was definitely unnerving and intensible to listen to. A very familiar slight chuckle. A very close yet distracted chuckle. That chuckle.